Welcome to The Real with Joseph Labman. I am Joseph Labman. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Real. Taking time out of your day to come watch this episode. I really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe for me. I'd really appreciate that as well. That's the best way you can support this channel and help me grow my content and grow this channel to where I'd like it to be. Everybody hit the like button for me on the way in on this video today. That also helps promote this video more in the algorithms, helps grow this channel more as well. Please share this content. I would really appreciate that. My guests would as well. If you would please share this episode with someone you know that maybe is interested in the topic we're talking about today. Please leave a comment below as well. We'd love to hear your guys' feedback. You can interact with myself and the guest on the panel and the live chat as well. Whatever we're talking about, just leave a comment there in the live chat. Pop in and say hello. We'll put it on the screen for you. And yeah, without further ado, let's get to the show. Welcome back to The Real with Joseph Labman. I am Joseph Labman. Friday Night Live edition. Friday Night Live. Got my Michael K. Cabot in the house tonight, aka Michael Antonace. Georgie's going to be joining us here for Father's Day weekend. He's going to come on and give a Father's Day message, and we're going to get into some pretty cool news, I don't want to say cool news, pretty interesting news tonight. That's the word I'm looking for. The message would be really cool from my dad, but I can't wait to hear that. But pretty interesting news coming out of LA with Dan Hurley yesterday on the Herd said something about LeBron that he might have dropped a clue about maybe where LeBron's going. We're going to get into that. Amari Cooper, not at minicamp this week for the Browns. Browns have minicamp this week, so Mike's come up here and give us his report on that. So yeah, we're going to get into that. Let me know where you guys are watching from tonight. Like I said, subscribe already if you haven't subscribed. It's the best way you can support this channel. Hit the like button for me right now. Everybody smash the like button for me. Leave a comment below. Interact with us tonight, and I'll put it on the screen like I said there, and we'd love to hear from you guys. So without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, Michael Antonace is in the house. Mike, what's happening?
Hello, beautiful people. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. You know, feeling all right. Got 7 miles in on the bike, so
There you go.
feeling pretty good. The weather's getting a little wacky, a little hot. Last week was cold. Now it's getting a little hot. I'm kind of feeling my sinuses a little bit. You know, getting a little dry with the AC on and all that. But
Oh yeah,
we're here.
we're here. Yeah, heat wave coming.
yeah, big heat wave coming. But no, it's your favorite time of the year, right, Mike?
I despise the summer. I can't wait for it to be over.
Yeah, but we can't wait for the fall. I know a lot of us can't wait for the fall this year because it's going to be pretty electric up here in Cleveland. I could say for what it seems like.
Oh yeah, I mean sports, the weather. I mean hot toddies. There's nothing I don't love about the fall spooky season. Like absolutely adore everything about it.
Yeah, Halloween's your favorite holiday, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And you grew up. What's the story behind that? You're real quick, if you don't mind. What you grew up around haunted houses?
Yeah. So my grandfather and my dad were the chairman of the Hudson JCs, which is a local town to us. And the JCs of America, a lot of them run haunted houses. It's like a charity organization for those of you that don't know, and they run haunted houses, haunted attractions all over the country. That's completely for charity. Basically the budget that they work with is a couple $1,000, that is given over as part of your dues for JCs. And my grandmother worked the ticket booth for as long as until she legitimately couldn't because of her health at the Hudson Haunted House. But my dad would always take me with him when he was working the haunted house or when he was running the operations. And they dressed me up, and I'd get to, as a small child, scare people. It was a lot of fun as a child. So yeah, I grew up around a haunted house, and it helped me not be afraid of a lot of things. Because it's an interesting experience when you're 4 or 5 years old, and they're like putting fake blood on you and stuff like that. And you get to scare people. It gives you a different perspective on a lot of stuff that usually freaks people out. But yeah, that's the lowdown. And then my dad just really did a lot. He always went overboard for holidays, Christmas and Halloween, but Halloween in particular, with like decorations and making sure he would take us to a bunch of haunted houses and festivals and stuff. So yeah, no, the fall, very nostalgic month of October for me. And now I have my wedding anniversary in October too, so even better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Shout out to you and telling that story there. But something else that was scary. Speaking of Halloween, Mike, I mean, there was some scary news maybe to you yesterday, or maybe not to say scary, but just kind of shocking. I mean, the kind of that frightening feeling. I mean, or just disbelief. Trevor Lawrence, your
Yeah.
favorite,
Certified hater, dude.
5 years, $275 million, including 200 guaranteed.
Wholly overpay
$100
Batman.
signing. Mike, I know Trevor Lawrence is your favorite. Your take.
For those of you who don't know, Joseph says that in sarcasm. I I have disappeared. There I am. I am not a huge Trevor Lawrence fan or believer. I think it's like that aspect of he's like Baker Mayfield for the Jags, in my opinion. Like, he is probably the best quarterback the Jaguars have ever had. Does that mean he's a top 10, top 5 quarterback? No. His numbers are extremely similar, if not identical, to Daniel Jones's first 4 years, and he certainly does not have that require this money. I get his first year was a throwaway year. Year 2, you saw a little bit of improvement. Same thing with year 3. Yet last year was extremely disappointing. Had a horrible year. I don't think he's worth this much. I think they're paying more for what they still think he could be down the line and hoping he continues to develop now that he's been in the same system for a while. But I don't see it. I don't like his style of game. Like, it's not like he's lacked weapons or like an offensive scheme that wasn't at least quarterback friendly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's always had weapons. Like, I know Christian Kirk isn't exactly top 10, but he's top 15. Last year he had Calvin Ridley.
They paid him like he was top 10.
Yeah. But I mean, here Zay Jones is a really underrated wide receiver, and even their pass catching tight end is fantastic. And Travis Etienne is a super underrated back. So it's not like he's lacked for weapons, and they've also really heavily invested in the O line. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think he's way overpaid. I think if he could have gotten similar to what Dak got paid last time, just with the way quarterback money is, like low 40s, I think he would have been more worth that. But yeah, that's my take on it. I don't think he's worth the money, but I can see why the Jaguars paid him. Somebody was going to pay him, and the way the market is now, I get it. But
yeah, I'm not surprised they paid him now, but did he earn it yet?
No.
But again, I'm not gonna be a hypocrite fan. Did Deshaun Watson earn his money? No.
Not yet. Exactly.
He didn't earn his money either. But this is the new NFL. This is the new market, and it kind of is what we said this 2 years ago when the Browns signed Deshaun. We were kind of
we paid for what he could be, and we're still waiting for that. And
yeah,
so
I mean, guys, nowadays
stimping.
guys are paid off of potential. I mean, the Jaguars are looking at that season when they went to the divisional round. They're thinking that's what we can be, right? So that's what they're hoping for. I think Trevor Lawrence has top 10 talent, and I think he'll be better than he was last year down the road in the future. I just think last year was just a bad year. I like Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he's as bad as he's shown, but did he earn that contract yet? No, but is this what it is nowadays? You're paying guys off potential nowadays.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So
right.
I don't think it's probably not the healthiest thing for the sport, for sports in general. It hasn't been. I think sports has declined because of this. But I mean, here it's like Michael Jordan said that time years ago on Oprah. It was back in early 2000s. He said he saw this coming. Guys are getting paid. Back in his era, guys had to earn their money, and I think it made guys work harder, made guys be committed more. You're seeing right now with the NBA Finals, like a Luka Doncic. You know what I mean? He's just falling apart and just crying to the referees, flopping all over the floor, fouling out in the NBA Finals game, letting his team down. Yeah, he could stuff a stat sheet, but he's out of shape. You know what I mean? He's not in shape to play 4 quarters. That's why you have sloppy feet like that at the end of the game. You're fouling, and you could just see it in him. You know what I mean? He's letting the team down. He's letting his franchise down. Will he learn from it? Hopefully, but it's like when Brian Windhorst went on that rant the other night on him. I had no problem with it because everything he said was right. And so, but you're seeing this in all of sports. So this is what it is now. But I think one of the crazy things about it too is though, Mike, is if you look at that draft class, the 2021 class, It was Trevor Lawerence, Mac Jones, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance.
Yeah.
And so that was a very hyped draft class. But if you look at Justin Fields, who didn't have as nearly the weapons in Chicago, didn't have a Travis Etienne, didn't have a Christian Kirk, didn't have any of that, didn't have the defense. But some of his numbers are better than Trevor Lawrence areas with the rushing touchdowns, the rushing yards. But is he getting the contract anytime soon? Probably not. So they had to pay somebody from this class because I think this class, that 2021, the 2021 draft class, probably one of the most overrated, overhyped draft classes maybe we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Nah, I still think Justin Fields in Pittsburgh can do well. I think Trevor Lawrence can do well.
If he ever sees the field.
You know, but the Trey Lance and the Mac Jones and all that whole thing, it's just but again, this is what it is nowadays. I mean, so we're paying guys $275 million now. And I think too, like you and I said 2 years ago, we understood why the Browns did what they did, because had they not done that, Myles Garrett's probably not a Brown right now. Nick Chubb probably would have left. Or some of your key pieces would have been gone by now because the franchise would be abysmal had they not made that move to get Deshaun. Because at least with Deshaun, getting him here gave you some sense of a new hope and a new elevation. He definitely was better than Baker. Some people may disagree with that, but I think from college to the pros, he's a better overall talent. But again, you're paying off a potential. So, you know, it is what it is. But I get why the Browns did that. I see why the Jaguars do it, but that's what it is now. Teams are just paying off a potential.
Right.
Keep interest in the fan bases so they don't have to blow their teams up. And I think eventually, too, this is going to have to lead to quarterbacks having their own cap space. Like we said this 2 years ago. We were talking about how the Amazon money, too, flooding in is going to raise this cap up, and you're seeing that now. So everything we said 2 years ago, Mike, it's coming to fruition now.
We got psychic powers, people.
Yeah, but Jersey's in the house, Mike.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Happy Father's Day, Dad. I want to say that first off the bat. Happy Father's Day.
Happy early Father's Day, Schnooks.
Thanks, Mike.
But you heard our take here. What's your take on the Trevor Lawrence contract yesterday?
Well, it's like the comparison you made with bringing in Deshaun Watson, you got to have a guy, or you're going to lose all your other guys. And then second, if you don't pay the guy, somebody else will pay him. So it is what it is. I mean, it's a great thing to be a starting QB in the NFL. It's the going rate. You know what I mean? So it makes you really like you got guys that have won games or won Super Bowls. What the hell is their contracts going to be like coming up? You know what I mean? Who's the first guy to get $1 billion contract?
Patrick Mahomes.
Probably Patrick Mahomes, yeah.
Right. He's loving this.
And what did Justin Jefferson, a receiver, just get?
The highest paid non-quarterback ever. He got close to $40 million a year, like $36 a year or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they have to go to a separate salary cap soon, I think, for the quarterbacks, because you look at a team like Cincinnati, for instance, in our own division, they have to go all in this year. You know this, Mike, because after this year, Mike, they're not going to have much, but that team's going to probably implode a little bit because they can't afford a lot of these guys.
Oh yeah, I mean,
ownership. So
Trey Hendrickson is basically, well, if he doesn't get a new contract, Trey Hendrickson has said that he's just going to retire, and T. Higgins is going to sit out, and Tyler Boyd's already gone because they couldn't afford to keep a slot receiver, and they haven't even paid Jamar yet, and now they got to beat or match Justin Jefferson's money, and that's already not a very cash-rich franchise.
One of the cheapest franchises in all sports.
And I understand, for people that are watching that don't understand completely what the NFL salary cap. Yes, the salary cap is even across the board, but guarantees have to be liquid cash. If you have guaranteed money in a contract, for those of you that don't know that are watching, when you read on Twitter or on an article that says, oh, Justin Jefferson just got $155 million over 4 years, $86 million of that is guaranteed. That means that owner of the Minnesota Vikings had to take $86 million and move it to a basically an account, escrow account. Yeah, move it into an escrow account immediately, and it's essentially almost a signing bonus. that money is immediate. So if you're an NFL owner, or if your team's owner doesn't have a lot of liquid cash to do that with, like Mike Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals, you won't be able to get a lot of guarantees to players. And that's why players don't like signing contracts there, because they have to be heavily incentive laden. And I mean, it is what it is. Like, players want as much guarantees as they can get. That's guaranteed money. If you get hurt and you have an incentive laden contract, you're not going to see a lot of your contract. So guarantees protect players from that. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too, kind of what you said there with the contracts. If you're a team like Cincinnati, though, they kind of had no choice, obviously, but to pay Burrow, because he's the top probably 3 quarterback when he's healthy.
When he's healthy.
How can you field a team around him? How can a team like that? How are they able to do that now with this? Money you're paying quarterbacks.
You got to just hope.
You got to really strike out hit all your draft picks.
Well, here's the problem, right? I know we're getting off the veer in a little bit, but with this Bengals, especially because they have to pay Jamar, they will pay Jamar Chase, and once they pay Jamar and have Burrow's contract, I don't foresee them paying much other than maybe a left tackle contract. They're going to lose a lot. Like, I could see people forget that their defense was a huge, if not the biggest part of their Super Bowl run. And now, they've already lost DJ Reader. They lost Jesse Bates, who's arguably one of the best safeties in the league. And they're going to continue to lose players. Because they don't have the ability to prioritize that side of the ball. And they haven't recuperated. And I don't think they will. And that's why I really think the Bengals at best are a 9-8 win team this year. But yeah, at least.
But
they'll always have the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's true. So, Mike, I'm going to give you the floor now because we have some other news we're going to move on to.
I'm a fluke. My boy Nick Carnes. Look at that.
Yeah, Amari Cooper. Mike did show up to minicamp this week. The Browns had minicamp this week. We'll get to that in a second. I saw a couple guys that stood out to me. But as this guy says here, the NFL writer, Ian Valentino, says the Browns have to pay Amari Cooper, and it should be in the $25 to $28 million a year range. I think a lot of this, Mike, like you and I said, has to do with the years of the contract. I think Amari wants probably about 4, maybe 5 years. I think the Browns only want to go 2 to 3 max. I would only give Amari 2 to 3 max personally because I think he's at 30 years old right now. Once you get to 32, that's about when they start to decline receivers. I think he's got 2-3 more good years left. I think if you gave him a 3-year deal, I'd be okay with that. Yeah. But Mike, I'll give you the floor. 1 second here. Let me switch this. Okay, that's me. Okay. So Mike, I'll give you the floor here and take it away.
So as far as Amari Cooper's situation goes, the Browns want to get a deal done. And from what I've been seeing and hearing is that they plan on getting a deal done before training camp. Obviously, they want to get this done before training camp so there's no issues and Amari doesn't continue to sit out. Excuse me, goodness. Just going to choke here. Obviously, he is arguably the best receiver we've had since Josh Gordon. Statistically, he's been the best receiver in the AFC North the past 2 seasons in yards, targets, receptions, all that good stuff, and has had career years every year he has been a Brown. So he is probably going to get signed. He's probably going to get a 3-year. I could see them probably actually going a little bit lower than that 25 million mark and just give him more guaranteed money. That's how they like to do it, is they turn into a really fat old signing bonus, and then the last year of his deal, if it's a 3-year deal with a lot of a team option in his 3rd year, basically the Browns can get out of it if they want. But I do foresee a deal getting done. Andrew Berry, even before Amari sat out of minicamp, was talking at the GM and head coaches meeting earlier in the summer about how that's a priority to get Amari Cooper re-signed. He's a really big, important part of this team, and obviously you want to continue to gel with him and Jerry Jeudy, that kind of wide receiver duo that you now got cooking. But that's kind of the way I see it. I've seen some Browns fans get negative about it, but this is such a commonplace thing, guys. Like if you're watching this, you're mad about the Amari Cooper thing. Like, wide receivers sit out, star players sit out if they're not paid. That's just the way it is. That's just the way the news goes. Brandon Ayuk sat out for the Niners. Tyreek Hill sat out after winning a Super Bowl with the Chiefs. Like this is just the way the news goes. It's nothing unusual. There's nothing strange happening. This is just how the contract game is played. And it has nothing to do with Amari's character. It has everything to do with how agents work in the NFL. So, I anticipate them paying him. Probably within the next couple weeks, we'll get more news on it.
Jersey?
Yeah, I expect them to sign. I mean, I don't know all the particulars like Mike does. I don't really follow it that close, but I can't see any reason why they would let him out. You know what I mean? So it's actually surprising. It's surprising he's not signed yet, though. I mean, what are they waiting on?
Just a disagreement on years, like Joseph was saying earlier. Amari wants more security, probably a 4-year to 5-year deal. The Browns are probably at most willing to give him a 3-year. And then, or if it could be something even like less like urgent than that, it could just be like working out the kinks of how much guaranteed money. That's the big thing. Because also when you're working in guarantees, right, the Browns haven't restructured Deshaun Watson's contract yet, and we fully expect them to do that, right? They did it last year and the year before, but they didn't do it this year yet. And the reason being is because they got to work out how much guarantees they're given to Amari, and then they got to work out how much they're going to be restructuring Deshaun. So it's almost when you sign a guy for the Browns, you have to work 2 contracts because Deshaun has already made it apparent he's willing to restructure and keep doing it. But it just makes things more difficult when you're restructuring 2 contracts at once, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll get it done soon, but I am a little, I don't want to say concerned as a Browns fan, but here's my thing, right? I get why Amari wants more years. Obviously, he should, especially with the wide receiver market the way it is. But if I'm also Amari, I'm kind of pissed because you traded for my replacement, Jerry Jeudy, and you gave him an extension before me. And Jerry Jeudy, who has done some things in this league, but not really much compared to what he should be. He's drafted 12th overall. And I get the situation in Denver and all that, but still, he hasn't really done a whole lot in the league yet. Amari Cooper has, and Amari Cooper's been available. He's been consistent. He's been one of the top receivers in terms of just route running, consistency, yards, receptions in the league for the past 10 years or whatever. I think almost 10 years. And so if I'm Amari, I might be a little pissed about that because you brought in my replacement and then you already gave him an extension. Now, from the Browns' perspective, the Jerry Jeudy contract looks kind of good now because they got it done earlier before the market really took off. So I kind of get it from their perspective too. And also, I wouldn't give him more than 3 years. But if I'm Amari, I mean, it's just like, will he go off of? Will he not, negotiate? It's either this is what I want. Either give it to me, or I'm gonna force my way out of here, or try to, and ask a trade. I mean, could that be a possibility in this scenario? Because he's already maybe upset about the Jerry Jeudy thing. Or not upset, but kind of looking at it from a way. You know how these athletes are. Yeah, it's like even in your business, Dad, and guys will do that. You know what I mean? You see other guys getting certain contracts or money or whatever, and you're kind of like,
absolutely. Man. Yeah, I mean, you look at your body of work and what you've done, your tenure, your current abilities, and yeah, there's a market. I mean, there's even for what I do, or salespeople, or there's a going rate for the services to be provided. So, and it goes back to that Trevor Lawerence they can pay it, or somebody else will pay it. You know what I mean? Somebody doesn't want to pay me what I feel like I'm worth. Somebody else will pay me. I mean, it's and it's the same way. You got a salesperson that's very productive, has a customer base. Yeah, it's worth a premium. So, same thing with that. So, is he worth beyond 3 years? I don't know if I'd do that at his age.
Usually go to about 32.
Yeah, I wouldn't give him any more than 3 years. He's actually kind of crazy for asking for that, but that's just at that age. I mean, shit. I'd be grateful just to get 3 years as a receiver.
Yeah, and then
being 30 years old.
What would you think of these comments too? What Deshaun said this week? Deshaun thinks he's the best receiver in the league. So I mean, what does that kind of throw into the fire?
That's meaningless. I don't think anybody. What else is he gonna say?
Yeah, it's true.
This guy's the second, third, or fourth, or fifth, or eighth best receiver in the league. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's the answer he's going to give, and he should give that answer. But
yeah,
everybody knows that's not true. So,
but he is definitely a great receiver.
Yeah,
he's a great. He is. There's no problems with him. He's not a prima donna. You know what I mean? The guy just goes out there and just plays football. He's a hard worker, and so all of that carries its own premium too. So you can have a guy to get you here. You take a Jamar Chase. He's super athletic. He's fat. He's talented. But there's a lot of baggage that comes with it. You know what I mean? And he says stupid shit. Like look at the guy. The dude was playing for the Steelers a few years ago.
Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, I mean, and who's the other one? I went to Notre Dame.
Chase Claypool.
Yeah, just distractions, and it causes problems. So there is a premium for a guy who just comes in and plays football. Look at Nick Chubb. I mean, there's a premium for that because it's just hard to come by anymore. So, the reason because it's better for your team all across the board. It's better for your locker room, and again, you're not dealing with bullshit in the media. So, they should pay the guy. He deserves it. He's earned it. But I think 3 years is certainly the max.
Mike?
I don't really think, going back to the Jerry Jeudy point you made, Jerry Jeudy is being paid like a wide receiver too, and I think he's more going to be Elijah Moore's replacement, if anything, than Amari Cooper's. Because I do feel like after this year, the set wide receiver tandem is going to be wide receiver 2 is going to be SAID. Your slot receiver is going to be Jeudy, and then your X is going to be Amari Cooper. Now that being said, all those guys can play at all different spots on the field. I do think that is the wide receiver tandem they want moving forward, especially since Jerry Jeudy can play in the slot and he's a bigger slot receiver to get some mismatches. I don't think so much that he's looking at that contract or saying, hey, you brought in my replacement. I do think he's looking at the Justin Jefferson money and being like, hey, I don't want that, but I want something closer or something more. I could also see him starting to be realistic. I don't think his agent's going to try and force his way out, because at the end of the day, the standards is the standard with how these contracts work and age restrictions and all that good stuff. Yeah. Could he get paid somewhere else? Yes. Is he going to get everything he wants somewhere else? If it was Jamar Chase trying to force his way out of Cincinnati, no, Amari Cooper is not going to get that. 30-year-old Amari Cooper is not going to get what Jamar Chase would get if he would be trying to force his way out of Cincy, right? So,
yeah. No, I mean, I get it.
You get the point I'm trying to throw.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, and my own thing is, I was just I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit too.
But no, I got
that has been a people brought that up, so I think that's fair. Because how these athletes are, especially nowadays. I mean, with the money going around, guys. And here, Amari should want to feel like he's earned his money because he has. So,
he really has.
But yeah, I mean, Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I think the other thing he's probably trying to do, he knows this is probably his last contract, and
Right.
he's just squeezing every bit out that he can. I don't blame him. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I try to squeeze everything out. You know what I mean? You got to. So,
real quick, Mike, before we move on, I'll take a quick break and then we'll move on to the main topic of today's show, the Dan Hurley news. But and Dan, I know you didn't get to watch any mini camp highlights yet, but Mike, I will tell you one guy that's actually stood out to me is the guy you think might be on the way out of here. Is Elijah Moore's kind of stood out to me, I think, in this spring.
No, he's had a great, I think he's on the way out of here, not because of anything else other than you can't pay 3 wide receivers. Right. That's all. That's the only reason I think he would be on the way out of here after this year. I think Elijah Moore's an excellent player. I think he's got a lot of talent. Nothing against him as a player or as a person. It's just optics.
No,
right?
I got it. Well, who else? Real quick though, who do you think? Who is there a player that stood out to you at minicamp?
Yes, there are 2. I'll give you one offense, one defense. So Cedric Tillman has made. It looks like he's been hard at work and has made strides. Had a lot of nice catches. Had a ball get broken up when Martin Emerson was on him, Greg Newsome was on him. But he's been high pointing balls. It looks like he's fitting better into this Ken Dorsey offense. I know it's just mandatory mini camp, but it looks like they didn't have to yell at him for running the wrong route. So it looks like he's made a lot of improvements. And the other one is going to be rookie Mike Hall. He is very fast for a 300+ pound man.
Yeah, I told you I watched him in high school. They used to put him at fullback on the goal line. They'd be plowing dudes.
Yeah, he's. I was watching him do the ring. The ring. I can't. Oh my god, I can't speak. The ring test or what have you. And the dude just has so twitchy and has such an amazing first step. I'm like, oh wow, like
he's really good.
And Jim Shore's defense, like this cat has a chance to be defensive rookie of the year if he gets enough snaps.
Well, I used to do that drill. He has really good balance for a big guy.
He really does.
That's really working through the holes, keeping your balance, your strength, foot speed, because you got to be able to get to the hole, break block, especially in the run game. So, yeah, I'm really impressed with him too. But real quick, yes or no question for both of you guys, and I'll give mine first. Will Nick Chubb be on the field week 1? I'm still going to say no, but I think he could close that gap. He looks pretty good right now.
Trent, I'm going to say maybe.
Oh gosh!
I know it's a
answer, Mike.
All right, fine. I'll say no, but trending towards a yes.
Yeah, we have the same answer.
A no, trending towards yes, because like the more I see, and the way he was at minicamp, like they actually had a brief mic'd up session where he's like, "Hey, can I just do one drill real quick, coach?" He was talking to Kevin Stefanski, and Kevin looked at him and said, "Hell no!"
But he looks ahead of schedule.
Let me just do one drill, coach, and he's like, "Hell no."
He looks ahead of schedule though, and that's what some of the reports are too. Dad, what's your answer? Knowing Nick Chubb.
Well, if it's Nick Chubb, he's going to play. If it's his decision, but I don't know if they're going to allow him. I don't know if they're going to.
Yeah.
That's my same thinking, Joe. Is like he could be ready, or he could be on the verge of ready, and then the team will.
Knowing who Nick Chubb is, his work ethic, he's been here before. Yeah. Would you put it? Do you think there's a chance he's out there week 1?
There's always a chance, but I'm going to say that that's not their. That's their. I'm going to say no. And I'm going to go a little bit further and say, depending on how they play, if they start off 4-2, 5-2, they might wait to the bye. You know what I mean? Possibly. I mean, if they can win, if they're winning games without him, might as well just let him heal even more. So.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens, but we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it, Mike. I know you're keeping an eye on it every day with the Browns, but
hell yeah.
And here, listen, I'm not saying they're uh, they're not going to be missing him. You know what I mean? But if they can knock off some games
Yeah.
and still let him recover, that's what they should do.
Yeah, I like what they were doing. Quick note about before we move on mandatory minicamp, what they're doing with Deontay Foreman, Jerome Ford, and even Pierre Strong and Nyheim Hines. It looks like they're doing some really different shit. Like Jerome Ford is lining up at like receiver a lot more because I mean he had like, let's not forget, he had 600 yards through the air and was like the third leading receiving touchdown scorer on the Browns. Like he's actually pretty good.
I'm still high on
running
Jerome
around.
Ford, to be honest.
I
watched him
I'm
in
still high
college.
on him.
I think he can be a good rotational piece. I personally.
Right. And I think Deontay Foreman is, I'll be honest, I think he's one of the most underrated backs in the league. I said that when he was on the Panthers. I even said that the Panthers were going to be fine when they traded CMC because they had Foreman. I love that cat. I think if Deontay Foreman has to be our featured back for 2 weeks before he goes back to like running back 2, I think that's great. He didn't have a stellar year with the Bears last year, but when like halfway through the year when they changed offensive mindset, like then he started to turn it on. He ended with I think like 650 yards as a running back 2, which is what you want to see. So I'm pretty high on the running back room and the kind of schemes that they're running. We're going to be running out of the gun a whole hell of a lot more, though. I will say that.
All right. Well, that's the Browns report. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. When we come back, I'm going to break down the Dan Hurley news, so don't go anywhere.
It's interesting to me. God really did have that plan for me throughout this entire time.
Mm-hmm.
It was simply just up to me when I was able to stop playing God. I thought I was the one making things happen. No, God is in control. A saying my dad used to always say was, man plans while God laughs. I had a plan for my life. Like, I was going to be, I'm talking about from as soon as I can remember my first thought, I'm going to be in the NFL. I'm going to be, a quarterback.
Right.
I'm going to, my life was made.
I'm going to have all this money. I'm going to get any girl I want. I'm going to have all these cars.
Yeah.
Hey, that's going to be good.
I'm talking Beyonce is going to be like, hey, what are you doing today?
What's up?
Then Rihanna tomorrow. Like it was this plan I had for my life. And as I got older, obviously the plans got smaller, but I still continue to plan. Something that I do now, and I would recommend everybody doing, every single night when I pray, what I used to do was say, God, allow me to pass this test. God, allow me to, meet this girl. God, allow, this date to go well, this day to go well. When I go to sleep every single night, what I pray for is for God's will to be done. Because he obviously knows what he's doing. I don't. Because if I knew what I was doing, I would be, I wouldn't be talking about Baker on the Browns. I'd be on the Browns right now. If I knew if I followed my plan, Beyonce would be hitting me up. She hasn't hit me up. I must have missed that call or something.
She don't want some bake.
Right. She doesn't want the AMP producer. She has a billionaire husband or something. It's interesting to me. God really did have that plan for me throughout this entire time. It was simply just up to me when I was able to stop playing God. I thought I was the one making things happen. No, God is in control. From the moment I wake up, God is in control. So
all right, welcome back. Time to move on to Dan Hurley and the Lakers. So Dan Hurley, obviously everybody knows Monday he turned down the job from the Lakers, 6 years, $70 million. And Dan Hurley yesterday made the airways. He was on the Dan Lebitard show, but he was on the Colin Cowherd show. And that was the one I watched yesterday. And Dan Hurley kind of really got into it. He opened up. He was very honest about it, about the situation, what happened. And he said they got in contact with him the Monday before and got out Thursday. And there was a lot going on. And he went out and flew out to met Jeannie Buss, Rob Pelinka, and blah, blah, blah. him and Rob Pelinka had a relationship for a while, and he really liked that. He liked Rob Pelinka, and he was interested in the job, obviously. But it sounds like two things to me why Dan Hurley didn't take the job. Number one, the obvious one that he mentioned yesterday, people were talking about today, which is he obviously wanted more money, and he mentioned that in the thing. Kind of, he said there was a price that would have pulled him away, and then they didn't on the Dan Levitard show. And they didn't give him that price. They didn't, even with the 6 years, $70 million, he wouldn't have been a top 5 paid coach at the NBA. So, So clearly that was one thing. The money was not enough to pull him away because he can get the money he's going to get, 6 years, $70 million. He can get that at Connecticut. And not only that, I thought Stephen A. Smith made a hell of a point today on First Take too about if you're making $70 million in California with how they tax people and stuff with the federal income tax and everything and FICA, if you're making 70, you're only making 35, really. So that's just how it rolls out there in California, especially the price of everything and the way they, you make 70, you got to get half of that in taxes pretty much. So, so you're only making 35 really in California. And so they didn't make a good enough offer, and that was their chance to get it done. Now you look at the situation now, they're interviewing James Borrego, but so are the Cavs. And I think James Borrego is probably he is the leading candidate right now for the Cavs. And there's a bidding war between the Lakers and the Cavs for James Borrego. I would bet my money on Dan Gilbert in that situation. So, not the ownership in LA. So, I think James Borrego will be the next head coach of the Cavs. But also, now they're re-interviewing J.J. Redick today. Going back to the J.J. Redick, they really have no plan, you could tell, in Los Angeles. There really isn't a plan. Maybe if the Mavericks lose tonight, once this NBA Finals wraps up, Sam Cassell, who's on the staff with the Boston Celtics, maybe he'll get a shot to interview for the Lakers job, who is more qualified than J.J. Redick. But there's something else, though, that Dan Hurley mentioned yesterday. And I'm going to get into it. So let me play the first part, too. First part first from Mr. Dan Hurley about the attraction of the job and why he was interested in the job. So here's Dan Hurley yesterday on the Herb with Colin Cowherd about what the attraction was for the job.
Really, the pull was the opportunity. The Lakers, not necessarily LA, but coaching the Lakers, coaching LeBron James, Anthony Davis, coaching LeBron, the opportunity to coach one of the greatest players of all time, what that would look like, the challenge of doing that, how hard you would have to work, the level of expertise, the relationship building that you would have to bring to that position to make it work with one of the smartest players and the greatest players, made it something that was drawing me to the job, not away from the job. But, for me in the end, the impact that you can have on 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-olds, the fulfillment that you get from being a part of, the last group of people that could maybe change the lives of young people. And then the opportunity, obviously, to come back to a place and to do something that hasn't been done, since John Wooden and those great UCLA teams, the chance to go for history, and what you mean to the state of Connecticut and UConn as a whole, and then all the family considerations as well. Just there was too many things that kept me here.
Finally.
So I'm going to go back and play the rest here in a second. So think about what he said there, right? He mentioned, UConn, they have a chance to do something that hasn't been done since John Wooden next year to the three-peat. Basketball and UConn's like what the Buckeyes are in Ohio State with football-wise. It's royalty there in UConn, the Northeast. So he's in a special place. He's from the Northeast. He's got it all set up there. He's the guy out there. He's the man of college basketball right now. But like he said there, he said more of coaching LeBron and Anthony Davis was more of a pull or more of an attraction for the job rather than something that would pull him away. But he said something else yesterday, too, that made me think, gee, maybe it wasn't just the money either, the low ball offer they gave him. What if LeBron said something to him that maybe made him think otherwise? Because you heard what he said there. Part of the attraction was if I'm going to leave history here in Connecticut, I want to coach with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, one of the greatest players of all time. If I have those two with me, I feel like I got a shot to win a championship, right? That's what he's thinking. He should think that. But what if LeBron maybe was signaling Dan Hurley something otherwise? So here's what else Dan Hurley said right after that in the interview with Colin Cowherd.
About a
minute left. Did you talk to LeBron? I mean, obviously, LeBron's the greatest basketball player in 20 years. You talk or text or anything?
We had some text messages, and he incredible message from him over the course of the weekend. Just talking about basketball and some different things, and letting me know that if he was there in LA, that I'd have his support. And just like, think about that, man. Like that blew my mind. And then we got into a text exchange, and then the exchange even went through to when I chose to go in another direction. So it blew my mind when you get a text message from LeBron James.
So, I don't know if you guys caught it there. I think my man Tony Goodson caught it. Shout out to Tony. You notice what Dan Hurley said there? He said, quote, he reached out, he said, he let me know if he was in LA, quote, if he was in LA, he had his, seal of approval, LeBron's approval for him to be the coach. If he was in LA. So I wonder, it almost sounds like to me, Dan Hurley reached out to LeBron to see if LeBron was really committed to the Lakers. Everybody knows LeBron's situation. He can opt out, be a free agent. Rich Paul 2 weeks ago already said, kind of slipped it up that he will opt out. So if I'm Dan Hurley, obviously I want to talk to the guy himself. He clearly has a relationship with him. LeBron likes Dan Hurley. That's been proven in the past. So Dan Hurley reached out and asked him probably, hey, what's your commitment to the Lakers? And LeBron said, well, if I am there in LA, you have my seal, I back you up. So I find that very interesting. I've been on this show saying for 3 weeks now, I think LeBron is signaling more that he's leaving LA. Not only is he leaving LA, but I think there's a good chance if he leaves LA, the Cavs could be involved. And he comes back to Cleveland. The Cavs still have a head coaching vacancy available, or open rather. And so if you add James Borrego, or maybe there's another coach out there we're not even thinking of for the Cavs, out to connect to LeBron. I just think all the signs are pointing to LeBron leaving LA. And I think what makes the most sense, like I pointed out, his best friend is the assistant GM of the Cavs. He was just with him this week. The Cavs have a couple draft picks in this draft class. They can take Bronny with one of them. You can justify that in Cleveland. People don't really care in Cleveland. We just like the story. So, and it's the hometown. If you're from Cleveland, we just want you here. That's how we are. We just ride or die with people that are from here. That's how people are. They don't really care. They just like the storylines. But I think Cleveland makes the most sense. And then also the Cavs have, tradable assets they can use too. And you got Spidey Mitchell here too. And you're back in the East. I think, and he showed up at the game in Dan Gilbert's guest seats back in that game 3 against the Boston Celtics. I think what Dan Hurley said is just another sign that I've shown many signs that I think LeBron is not only leaving LA, but I think it could be also signaling towards another return back to Cleveland. So that's my take on that. I'm going to get my guest back up here, Mike in Jersey. I guess, Dad, I'll start with you. What's your take on the Dan Hurley thing and all this? Because you were sitting right there with me last night when we were watching that. We both looked at each other like, oh, gosh, here we go. We've seen this movie before. So what's your take on all this? And shout out to Goodson. Oh, and Goodson's in Jersey.
Caffeine Cowboy, what's happening?
Your take.
Well, the question is, LeBron leaves LA. Does Dan Hurley follow him? You know what I mean? Dan Hurley's indicated that he is willing to leave Connecticut for the right amount of money and the right circumstances. And the way he just spoke about LeBron makes you really wonder, could this summer feels a lot like 2014.
Yeah, it does.
It really does feel like 2014. And, Dan Gilbert has shown that dude can pull off miracles, man, and he's willing to spend the money. So,
and he likes hiring college coaches too, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah, I was already thinking that. But Cleveland, look at the roster. It's perfect for a guy like him to come in. You're building that brand new practice facility. The Cleveland Cavaliers are probably, I must say, I mean, you talk about just overall franchise, first class franchise. They've got to be one of the best in sports. You know what I mean? Dan Gilbert's really done that.
Oh,
I
the
believe.
media says otherwise, but go ahead.
Yeah, here they just got other reasons. They like to go to those other cities, but
Pretty much.
all the decadence and all the other things they like to do with their spare time. But you think about that though. I don't know of any owner or organization that's in the last 10 or 15, 20 years has done what Dan Gilbert's done. I mean, he's built casinos in the city. I mean, he's spent the money. He's renovated the arena twice. He built that facility in Independence. Now he's building this other one downtown. This is going to be an absolute palace. So, I mean, that shit's all attractive, but it feels like 14. You know, I still think Dallas could be in play. The Knicks could be in play, but you know, Dallas, like you were saying last night, like they're about a piece away. But yeah, I think a lot of it's again his son. Here, I want him to draft his son. I don't care that his son's really a second round pick. You know, he's from the area. You know, maybe the kid does want to play here. You know,
I think he's better than what his stock. I mean, here he's coming off what happened to him last summer mentally, and he even said that. And I think too, there's so much pressure coming off of that as well. I think he is better. If you watch his highlights before that happened, the incident last summer, and you kind of see his combine, what he was thinking at the second highest vertical, shot the ball from 3, I think second best there as well. He looks really good. He's got some, he's got some talent. I think you put him in the right situation. I think he can blossom into when he even said himself, he kind of knows what he's going to be. More of that kind of guy off the bench, that, guard that can play good defense, run the offense, be kind of like just a really good backup guard, which, I mean, that's what he even said. Some of the guys he models his game after is like Drew Holiday, Davion Mitchell, guys like that. You know, I think he can really, I think there's some upside there with him. I think he has some really good raw talent. I mean, for 6'2", 6'2", he's pretty damn explosive. I think he could have played receiver if he wanted to and been a D1 receiver.
I still think he should. Yeah. I've said that 100 times.
To be a basketball player, to be at 6'2", 6'3", to be that explosive with that kind of vertical and his shooting ability and his defense ability, he's a really good defender. You know, he can pass a little bit because he's got the DNA in him. I think there's some upside there with him, but I think it has to be in the right situation. I don't think LA is the right situation personally, but
no, and he needs to be in a situation where he's going to be nurtured. He's going to be allowed to develop. He's going to be allowed to make mistakes, and his confidence is going to grow. And the fans will always
be a better coach than Dan Hurley to help him.
Correct, absolutely. I mean, so LeBron's got that kind of
JJ Redick, and I'm not hating on JJ Redick, but JJ Redick has earned the right to be a head coach, and he's kind of a hothead. And you saw the reports too. I don't know how the hell they brought this guy back in for an interview, Mike, after this came out last week, is beyond me. But Mike, your take on all this?
Yes. No, I mean, I'm all for the LeBron smoke. I would love for him to be back in the wine and gold. I think we have one of the better rosters in the East, and I think LeBron fits well into that roster.
Do you think Dan Hurley, those comments when he said yesterday, it wasn't from LeBron directly, but it was from a secondhand source. He had a private conversation with LeBron. He put some pretty intriguing details out there. Do you think those comments when he said, if I'm in LA still, basically what he paraphrase a bit.
Rich Paul and LeBron have been pretty transparent with their unhappiness, or maybe not unhappiness isn't the right word, but like apathy or ambivalence towards Los Angeles and the Lakers. Like here, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't think it's a priority to stay in LA for LeBron or his agent. So, I agree that's probably a reason why Dan Hurley said no to the job, is because he doesn't know the LeBron situation. But I don't think LeBron fully knows his situation yet.
Maybe not. I think he has an idea, obviously, but I don't know. I feel like the last
Because what happens if the Kings just come and draft Bronny James? It's gonna be a
I don't think that's
Sacramento
gonna
Kings.
I think teams aren't gonna touch him unless they know. You know what I mean? Unless they know they can have him. Really,
I know. I just think that would be funny.
But I also think too, the Lakers said this week there was that one report. I pulled up the other day. Let me bring it back up here, but there was something else I read this week too about how Rich Paul has said how they want to get Bronny guaranteed money, right? He's not going to take less than that. Well, if the Lakers take him at the 55th overall pick, they're not going to take him with the 17th overall pick. I mean, he's not going to get guaranteed money then. So it's funny to me that all these media people that don't want LeBron to leave LA so bad, and we see it. You guys know what I'm talking about. You see it all day. They're like, well, we don't think he's going to leave. Just like they thought J.J. Redick was going to be the guy for the job, right? But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes the Dan Hurley news, and it's, he's been our guy all along. And right, and then you had all the people the other day saying Dan Hurley he was just using that for leverage. And like Dan Hurley said yesterday, I've won back-to-back national championships, and I put guys in the draft, and I've created this program. I already have leverage. I don't need the Lakers for leverage. All right, that was some of the some of the stuff you see out there for some of these national media pundits is some of the dumbest shit you've ever seen. They're such homers, such BS, and people still listen to this BS crap. It just pisses me off because it's just such fake ass shit. But yeah, I'm kind of getting a little side rant here. But
well, one thing I would tell you to research, the Hurley family are kind of like the Harbaughs in basketball. The old man.
Bob's
obviously
at Arizona State coach now.
Yeah, and Bobby Hurley was just
a bad dude.
Right, one of the baddest college players I've ever seen. I'm almost certain, though I could be wrong, that they went to Christ the King.
Oh yeah, LeBron School of Funds in New York.
That's where the old man coached. I think it's New York somewhere. Right? Do your research on that. Where Bobby?
What was Mr. Hurley's name?
I think Bobby Hurley Sr. I think there's Bobby. I think it's Bobby Hurley Sr. and then Bobby Hurley and then obviously Dana.
Okay, you guys improvise. I'll look it up real quick.
So, I mean, I know he's coaching in Connecticut, but their history's all in New York.
He coached at St. Anthony High School in Jersey City in 1972. 26 state championships. Damn.
Yeah, that's crazy. So,
but they're from that area. But him and LeBron, I mean, LeBron's been he likes Bob Hurley a lot, or Dan Hurley a lot. He said that recently. And clearly he was able to get a hold of LeBron. So I'm sure they've talked in the past. They have connections probably. They probably have known each other for a while. I mean, the Hurley family is like basketball royalty. So that's interesting though. I mean, and Dan Gilbert, and like I feel like Bob Hurley, you listen to that interview yesterday on the Herd, he kind of left the door open still.
That's what I felt like.
I feel like he was leaving the door. He was kind of like, we're going to have a chance. This is what it is right now. I am where I am right now. But it's kind of like, man, he said, though, there is a price that will pull me away. Dan Gilbert's not afraid to throw that cash around. I mean, what did he offer John Beeline when he came out of college? Do you remember that, Mike? I have to look that up.
No, I do not.
And John Beeline was a 66-year-old man who had a great career at Michigan, was a great college coach. Let me look that up real quick. John Beeline's Cavs contract. But that's an interesting point because, let's see, he gave... Trying to find the actual deal, but it says... Because all it shows is when he... okay, right here. He gave him a 5-year deal that was worth... Where the hell's the money at? There's probably somebody watching this. If you're somebody watching, remember the contract money. Please leave in the comment below. Go ahead.
And I don't believe you listen to Dan Hurley. You look at where he's from. You listen to the guy speak. I don't think he's a LA guy.
Not an LA guy. He even made that clear yesterday too. He goes, "It wasn't LA. I was intrigued with. I was more intrigued with the brand." Yeah,
I mean the Midwest is, I think I think that's why so many players come to Cleveland, and they never leave Cleveland because it's just the Midwest, and Cleveland's really like almost the heart of it, and it keeps the guy close enough to the East Coast. So I've seen. I wouldn't be shocked. You know what I mean?
Well,
I wouldn't be shocked.
It says they gave him like it was a 5-year, about $4 million a year deal. But John Beeline is still part of the organization. People don't forget that. He has a new role at the Cavs. He's had for a while as like a consultant. So he probably has connection to Dan Hurley as well. And Donovan Mitchell's from that area. So I wonder if him and Dan Hurley have a connection as well. I'm sure Donovan Mitchell probably like that Dan Hurley system as well. I'm sure those two have a connection in some way because Donovan's from that area, from the Northeast. And you know how those up there. They all know each other up there. So that's an interesting point. Yeah, I mean, if I'm Dan Gilbert right now, because I thought, now I'm going to be honest with you, I thought James Borrego would be done by tonight because everybody kept saying he was the leading candidate. And I get they interviewed Micah Nori again and Kenny Atkinson, but I think it's probably James Borrego if you're going to hire one of the retreads. And I like James Borrego. But I mean, that's a good point. I mean, Dan Hurley could possibly come out of the NBA, but what if it's to the Cavs with LeBron?
It'd be wild.
Right. I mean, it would be. I mean, and it would be attractive for the guy if LeBron's here and then he gets to coach LeBron's son and possibly LeBron's other son in a couple of years. So,
and he's only an hour, 2 hours from home still on a private jet.
Shit, not even 2 hours. You know, he's got a great roster, highly talented, young. I mean, can plug in and be a title contender. You know what I mean? So, it doesn't. I don't think it's too. I don't think it's crazy. I mean, the Cavs are, like I said, it's a first class organization. Everything
they're ready
there.
to win now too.
Right.
You know, they're ready. They're ready to win now. I think when you look at the Boston Celtics, I think that team will blow up here in a couple of years. I don't think Tatum and Brown are going to be together for at least no more than one more year. That's just my personal opinion. I think you're going to start to see someone what you always see with two stars, especially if Jaylen Brown wins the Finals MVP. I'm going to be honest. I think that team's not going to last that long. I don't think they're going to be around forever. So the East is going to be wide open. I mean, wide open. And you got a prime Donovan Mitchell. You still got Jared Allen and Darius Garland, who you can use as trade assets or however you want to use them. You got, some other good role players. You got some draft picks. You got some draft capital. You got Evan Mobley, who's a rising star. So, I mean, they're ready to win right now. I mean,
right. And the other thing
I think Dan Hurley. I know a lot of college coaches that came to the NBA and have not panned out or it's taken them time to get there. I think Dan Hurley's a guy that could come in right away and be effective. I think he's that good. I think his offense, when he runs in college, you look at that's why if the Lakers would have hired him, I think it would have been a phenomenal hire. I think they would have hit a grand slam. They would have been able to pull that off last week, but they didn't. But whoever gets him out of the college rankings and brings him in the NBA as their head coach is going to get, I think, a future, maybe the next like Phil Jackson kind of coach. I think he's that good. His offense, what he's running in college is he's running NBA stuff in college. That's why he's killing it right now because he's outsmarting everybody.
But the fact that he entertained that job tells you that he's not stuck at UConn or he's basically out of UConn. It's just who's going to give me the right offer in the right place with the right circumstances. You know what I mean? And you never know. Cavs might be that team. Why wouldn't the Cavs, if the Lakers made a run at this guy, why wouldn't the Cavs?
This is just pure speculation. And I'll go to you, Mike, too. I know you're just sitting back.
I'm just chilling, dude. You know me.
Yeah, Mike's more of the Brown. He covers the Browns more. I keep up more with the NBA. And my dad's been hearing me talk about the NBA stuff for the past month. Even when I'm off the camera, I'm rambling about it. But I want to point this out real quick, though. I'll let you guys hit on this. Is he mentioned something there too? Now, after he made that comment about LeBron saying, if I'm there in LA, you got my back or whatever, he said we went on to talk even more after that about basketball stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if LeBron maybe signaled to him like, hey, if I'm not there, come find me here.
Could have.
I mean, why are they sitting there? They're sitting there. He said even after he said it out of his own words. I'll replay it again real quick. He said after LeBron even said that to him, that they went on even after that for a while and talked about more basketball. I'm gonna play it again real quick, and I'll let you get your guys' take because we got more viewers tuning in right now too. So here's the clip, guys, from yesterday from Dan Hurley on the Colin Cowherd show when he made some interesting comments about possibly related to LeBron's future. So here's Dan Hurley once again.
LeBron? I mean, obviously, LeBron's the greatest basketball player in 20 years. You talk or text or anything?
We had some text messages, and he incredible message from him over the course of the weekend. Just talking about basketball and some different things, and letting me know. That if he was there in LA, that I'd have his support. And just like, think about that, man, like that blew my mind. And then we got into a text exchange, and then the exchange even went through to when I chose to go in another direction. So it blew my mind when you get a text message from him.
Even when I chose to go in a different direction, the text exchange still kept going. How about that? Your guys' take.
Well, here's another thing. If you're Dan Hurley and you're going into the NBA, it's your first gig in the NBA. What a luxury to have a guy like that. You got your floor coach. You know what I mean? It makes him much, much more comfortable. Imagine Dan Hurley comes in the league. Let's just say he takes the Cavaliers job. The situation without LeBron, and then the situation with LeBron. How much easier, how much more comfortable is it for him? As long as he has a great relationship with LeBron, which it sounds like they do, it's a much easier transition. It's easier for him. All he's really got to do is he's got a coach, but LeBron's the vessel. You know what I mean? He's the floor general. He's conveying the message. So it's kind of like, like where I'm at, it's a real luxury to have a salesperson that does 35, 40 cars a month by herself. She's just on autopilot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's that same type of thing, and has been, when I got there, she had been there so long. All of my questions I had pertaining to particular questions at that manufacturer, and so she could answer it all for me. She could help me. So he's got to be looking at that. So that's a real luxury. So, but I think, like I said, if he already entertained that gig, he'll entertain it for another organization.
That's why I'm saying when he said even after I made my decision, we're still texting. Basically, is what he says. You know what I mean? Mike, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, it, like you guys were saying, it is the ideal situation for any coach coming from college. I mean, if LeBron does come back, or even if he doesn't and he still wants to entertain a coaching job in the NBA, you still have Donovan Mitchell, who's a certified superstar, and Evan Mobley, who's a up-and-coming superstar.
Only 22 years old.
Yeah, and if LeBron comes back, I mean, you have like a myriad of talent to teach, and also you still have some young guys that, as a coach, you can develop and mold. And I think that in and of itself too is something that he could be interested in, because we still have Amani Bates in the wings who might get a bigger role, and then Craig Porter Jr. if
Sam Merrill, you got Isaac Okoro coming up. Well, he's got a contract. But you got some young pieces still. Karis LeVert's under contract. It's a nice 6-man. You got some options for sure. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens.
Hell yeah.
Real quick, last question on this: percentage chance LeBron's a Cavalier next year.
I'm gonna say.
I'm gonna say
50.
I'm gonna say 45.
I'm gonna stick to 55.
I'm less than half.
So you got 50, Dad. Mike, you got 45. I got
not quite half, but I could see it.
I'm giving 25 to Dallas, 25 to the Knicks.
I'm gonna say 55K. Do you guys both think he's definitely out of LA?
Probably, yeah. I think he's done everything he can there, and LA hasn't made it easy for him.
You think he's definitely out of LA, Dad?
Yeah, I think with where he's at in his life, I mean, he don't stick around.
No.
He's what's he been there now?
6 years.
6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be 40 years old. He's got a kid coming into basketball. It's here when you get 40 years old, you start to really want to go back to where you're from. You know what I mean? He did his thing in Miami when he was young. Yeah, he's been out there in LA having fun. But when you start to get to that age, your kids are growing up. You know, you start to think about home a lot more. And I mean, the guy loves home. You know what I mean? So
he came back in the middle of his prime.
And I think his kids are the same way. And you know, the younger kid never wanted to go to LA. You know, so yeah. But then you got to think about the daughter too. Maybe he wants his daughter at this age to spend some time in Ohio. You know what I mean? And be home. So
I think it's good, like Tony said. I think it's great for the league. You know, everybody hyped up the whole LeBron to LA thing when he went out there at 18. We had to hear about it, Cleveland fans, for that whole year and how he was leaving and why it's so much great. You know, how much greater it is for LA and the league and all this. But I just don't think it has much of a buzz when he's in Cleveland. I think he's better in Cleveland. I think he fits Cleveland. Obviously, he's from here. I just think he's better on the East Coast. I think he's just, to me, he's never really fully fit LA. And so, but I think it's better for the league. And I think, like Tony said too, they need this NBA Finals has sucked. I mean, that's why we're doing a live tonight during it, because it's just
Anthony's
nobody's
right.
watching it, and so I haven't watched a single game but game one because it's just been an absolute snooze fest. So, what somebody said, shout out to Param John. Excuse me, I don't mean to pronounce that incorrectly, but Lakers fans don't respect Bron. Man, we adore him here in Cleveland. Yeah,
we really do, man.
100%. And shout out to you. Thanks for tuning in the live tonight. Welcome to the channel. But yeah, I agree with that. And you know, I just think too, like Tony was saying there in that comment, what not a better place and what not a better storyline for the NBA right now, coming off the snooze fest of a finals than LeBron going back to Cleveland again. Just the intrigue of it, and just Bronny coming back home with him. They got Donovan Mitchell. They got young, like prime stars. You know what I mean? They got a team. And so,
I mean, yeah. In LA, what does he have?
I mean, AD thing wore itself out. AD's almost 30 now. And AD, I like AD. He's a great player.
I like AD a lot. It's just bro can't stay healthy, man.
Can't stay out. Now, he did play 75 games this year. But you saw
good for him. That's a rarity.
You saw this year that even with that, how far they get, Mike?
Then they get swept.
Gentleman's sweep.
Gentleman's sweep.
I mean? And this person here makes another great point. If he wins another ring here in Cleveland, it makes his GOAT case that much stronger.
It sure does.
Because now he says, if I got, maybe you don't have 6 like Jordan, but if I got 5 like Kobe and I got 2 of them here in Cleveland, that last one, I think if he won one more in his 40s in Cleveland, it'd probably be his most impressive one.
Would he be the first NBA player to win a ring on each contract?
Will be, and I think
besides
look that up.
He'd be the first in his 40s as a prime player, like a, you know what I mean, that kind of caliber player in his 40s, other than Tom Brady in the NFL. So now he's putting himself in that category too.
Mm-hmm.
That's rare.
I mean, we've had plenty of conversations. Obviously, I grew up watching Michael Jordan all through his career. Most competitive athlete I've ever seen.
Yeah.
When you talk about winning a game, he's the best that I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if LeBron was to come here and win another championship with his entire body of work, all the years he's played, all the playoff games, how many finals he's been in, win or lose, he's in that breath of just basketball player, just like it. could he be the actual like best overall basketball player ever played basketball? Maybe not the most winningest or the most, dominant or whatever.
Right.
Like, because to get to watch Michael Jordan live like I did, I've never seen anything like it in sports ever, and I don't know if it'll ever happen again. Other than if you watch horse racing, Secretariat. I mean, Michael Jordan just did what he wanted when he wanted. So, but yeah, if he was to come back and pull that off in Cleveland again, he's in that breath. And I agree with that person said. So
yeah, the person listening, he makes smart tactical choices when it comes to basketball wise. We have a title contender right now without a leader. He's the missing link. I totally agree with that. The Cavs need somebody. And Mike, we were screaming this all throughout the playoffs on the show, how much they need somebody to really step up and be that leader to show them how to win.
Yeah,
right?
That's all they need.
They just need him.
That's all they need, and then the coach that he wants. You know what I mean? And so
who can coach everybody else with a great system? Like I think Dan Hurley would be a phenomenal choice.
I mean, you look at who's in the finals right now. You telling me the Cavs couldn't have been there?
Look at Dallas. Look at the opportunity Luka Doncic is throwing out the window right now.
Right. He's not that guy.
Boston's a great team, but they're beatable. I mean, they're not like some invincible team. I mean, Jaylen Brown's played out of his mind, but other than that, Drew Holiday's a great player, but Porzingis has been hurt. Tatum's one game is good, one game he's not. You know what I mean? And they're beatable. I think I mean, it's wide open.
All right. That's what I'm saying. So, you bring in LeBron, and then you have I've never been fond of the transition of college coaches, and so many of them have failed. But this guy has got to be. I mean, just that bloodline he's from. Watching his teams play in college, like you said, they didn't even look like a college basketball team. And then the player development. If he could develop players like that to get them in the NBA, that means he could coach in the NBA. So, man, I think if you plug both those dudes in, Cavs win a championship next year. And what a great way to end his career.
Right. This person also agrees with you. Param John, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I had a feeling back at 14 when he came back to, I had a feeling back at 14 when he came back to, told everyone he was, and it happened. Told everyone he was, and it happened. I'm getting that same feeling, man. We are too.
Yeah. It's like,
and if
deja
you're
vu.
new to my channel, go check out the videos I've done the last 3 weeks. I did the LeBron's Last Dance. I've broken down so much evidence of LeBron from the signs that happened back in 2014 when he came back. That's when he was signaling before he officially did it. How he was signaling he was coming back, and how he's done some of the same things even since 2018 when he left for LA. He's kept that door open all the way till now. So, well, go ahead, Dad.
And the other thing, like I told you a couple of weeks ago, why all of a sudden is Dan Gilbert heavily involved in the offseason? Because Dan Gilbert, like every other billionaire or millionaire owner, wants the credit.
He wants a splash.
He wants the splash, but he also wants the credit. He wants to be known as the guy that pulled it off. I got involved. I made it happen. So, you know what I mean? It's just, It's kind of ironic that all of a sudden he's heavily involved in this offseason.
Yeah. I think I still have that too. I put that up on one of my shows too. But yeah, it's not a coincidence he's back involved and just all the stuff you've seen. I think I have that right here. Windhorse. Cavs, Dan Gilbert be involved in offseason amid Donovan Mitchell rumors.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with Donovan Mitchell.
But he's back involved is what it meant, to be involved this offseason. Because the last 2 years he hasn't been.
All right. So,
right, and this person agrees. We've been saying this too. There's no way in hell LeBron will come back and watch us in Cleveland on a random day. And Dan Gilbert's guest seats, by the way, reported by Brian Windhorse on the Pat McAfee show. He's making his chess moves as we speak. Yep. Yeah, he was there to scout. He was there to scout for the Lakers that night, right? That's what the media. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He went and sat Gilbert. So I need to scout for the Lakers. Yeah. Okay.
And the last thing is it could be speculation, but you've always heard it. Was there that informal agreement that that LeBron could get to buy the team. I mean, Dan Gilbert's not in good health. He's had things go on.
Yeah.
I don't think he has family he can. I mean, obviously, his one son passed. I don't know about any other potential heirs.
Well, there
but-
has been the rumor about the league is expanding to the Vegas and Seattle, and Kevin Durant's supposed to get part ownership in the Seattle team, and he's even kind of made that clear. But that LeBron's always been the one supposed to get the Vegas team. But
yeah,
I could see that. He's even said that himself, the interest in the Vegas team. But I wonder if he'd rather have, because remember Maverick Carter said when he came back, his first game back in Cleveland as a Laker, Maverick Carter said to Rachel Nichols in the pregame show that absolutely LeBron would be interested in buying the Cavs. So, and if his son's playing for the team, why wouldn't he want to purchase the team his son plays for?
right.
I think he would
want
kind of
Dan
let
Hurley?
the Vegas. I think he would let the Vegas thing go and let somebody else, because there's gonna be so many other people bidding for that team in Vegas.
Yeah, that might be. I mean, dude's got money. He's got all the financial backers in the world, but that just might be one he gets. Yeah, but here again, he's partnered up with the people that own the Red Sox and shit. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that point to Cleveland. So
all right. Well, I think Mike just said the Irish goodbye. I think his phone died.
All right.
Shout out to Mike. But Dad, it is Father's Day. I'm gonna give you the floor here. You want to give a quick Father's Day message? Well, first I want to say is on behalf of him, we love you. Thank you for all you do. Happy Father's Day. And
thanks, bud.
would be the man I am today. Julie would be who she is today if it wasn't for you. And we need to get all sentimental. We've gone down that road in this podcast many times. But happy Father's Day. And shout out to all the fathers out there. Shout out to Dan. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Dan a lot last night. Go check out the Girl Dad podcast. Him and his lovely daughter, his family were up there. It was a great fun episode. Great guy. So go check out that podcast on Facebook. They'll be on YouTube soon. The Girl Dad podcast. Just go to Dan Millat on Facebook. DAN, Dan, and then MILLAT. And check out that podcast. Go support them. But and two, who else comes on our show? The father, Corey. Shout out to Corey. Jeremy. Shout out to Jeremy. Shout out to Lynch. I'm forgetting somebody, excuse me, but a shout out to all the fathers out there. Happy Father's Day. But Dad, you got a message you want to say here for Father's Day?
Yeah, just enjoy it. All the dads out there. I'm someone that don't put a whole lot into it. Everyone tells me I don't give myself enough credit, but here it is a special. Dads are special. Moms are special. Dads are special, and I think it should be celebrated. Of all the holidays we have, and it's the thing that's missing out there, especially at dads. There's not enough dads out there anymore. They don't take their responsibility, or they just don't know how. But but it's a great thing, and it's a wonderful thing to be a father, and it's a real blessing, and it comes from the Father in heaven. So that's what makes it, so special and spiritual. And like I said, it's a blessing to be a dad, and it really makes life whole. They tell me thank you, but I tell them thank you. I could have the worst day in the world, and I come home and it's just all forgotten. I sit home and I just watch my wife and my kids, and I just sit there and say, man, what a wonderful life I have. I'm rich. It's not in assets and money. Wealth is in your family. And I can lay my head down at night. I got wonderful kids. I got a wonderful wife, and we're all four very close. And so, I'm lucky that they celebrate me. So, all you dads out there, enjoy it. Hopefully, you get to be around your kids, and you get to be around your dad. And I would certainly say, my father passed away 15 years ago, a little over 15 years ago. And there's not a day that's full of there's not a day that there's not several moments that I don't think of him. And I just wish I could have one more my dad, a lot of my memories are car rides. My dad had muscle cars and pickup trucks, and his favorite cars were 63 T-Birds. I'd give anything to take one more ride, just one more ride with my dad. And so, again, just enjoy it. Have a great time, and thank you to all of you for being great fathers. So, have a great weekend.
Oh, shout out to Zach.
What's that?
I said shout
Muffled.
out to Zach. He's a father now as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Congratulations, we got a new father. Yeah, we got you know what though? We got a new father in our family because Zach's family, Potok's a family to us, and he gets yeah. I mean, Zach Potok, congratulations, bud, and you're gonna be a great father just like your dad, and I love you, bud. You're almost like a son to me, and I can't wait to see your son Baker. So you enjoy it.
Shout out to you and Ash, and
and hearing the other Potoks, Joe Potok, and Josh, he's a dad. So great family.
Tony, you tuned in tonight, or man?
Well, Tony's a dad. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, bud.
Happy Father's Day, Tony. First time listening to you guys. Keep up the great work. Appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel, and we'll love to have you back anytime.
All right.
Well, that's all we got for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a comment below what you guys think. What's LeBron going to do in your guys' opinion? And like I said, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. We'll see you guys in the next one. We're out of here. Go.